Okay, looks like we're ready to start. So today for this talk, we have Microsoft technical trainer, Štěpán Bechynský. Take it away. Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome everyone. So today I will speak about how to use the OpenAI models in an enterprise environment. So I give you probably you know the OpenAI models, you know GPT, you know the ChatGPT, all those things. Or I expect. But you know how to use it in enterprise, because usually if you are working in enterprise, you need to keep some information really secret. You don't want to give the access to everyone to some information and so on. I give you one example. A friend of mine is working for a big pharmaceutical company called MSD. MSD is in top 10 biggest pharma companies. And they started to use the OpenAI models in the way that, you know, you can imagine that if you are working for a large organization, you have a lot of internal documents. And it's, you know, and there are some, you know, the stuff you usually need maybe once a year. Okay, you go for a business trip. So you need to know what are the rules for the business trip. You need to know who to ask for approval for the business trip. You need to know what are, for example, the limits for the air tickets or what are the limits for the hotel. And then you can easily spend hours just to searching for it or sending the emails and so on. So in that pharma company, they decided to take all internal documents and then build a chat on top of it using the OpenAI model. Of course, you can imagine that in those type of the documents, you have some secret information you don't want to reveal to everyone. So the question is how to do it. What options do you have? So now, imagine this situation. This is just fancy chatbot, and you ask the chatbot, you know, what wine you will recommend to me if I eat, I don't know, the pork, or if I want to have a beef. You want some recommendation about the wines. Of course, those recommendations I want to give you only for my wines because I'm a winery owner. So I just want to give you it on, okay, it should work only with my wine. I will not recommend you the wines from a competitor. So the question is how those things are working. I have my own data and I want to give the access to those data using those fancy ChatGPT way. So how to work on it? So first of all, I will show you it using Azure OpenAI. So what is Azure OpenAI? Azure OpenAI is nothing else that you know probably that Microsoft has a very large cooperation with OpenAI company. And the Azure OpenAI, you just take an OpenAI model and you deploy this model to your environment. So this model is just for you. This model is not shared with others. And you have this model inside your environment. If we start with the basic settings, so if I go here, I go for OpenAI, and I just create an OpenAI service here. Actually, this service is just for me, but this service is not protected against access from public internet. So if I just create it here, everyone with the proper URL, maybe you leave some keys, everyone will be able to use it and maybe access your internal data. So what you need to do here? So first of all, one of the key things is to protect your models against the access from the internet. The functionality we have here, if I go to networking, so in networking, I can disable access from a public internet, which is very important because then you can prepare the internal models which are not really accessible from a public internet. So what you need to do, you need to create a private network inside Azure. Typically, you connect this network using to your on-premise network using the VPN, express route, or something like that. So just extend the network from your company into cloud. And then you can tell, okay, only those IP addresses can access it, or only those virtual networks can access my models, which is quite nice, but there is something much more better, which is called a private endpoint. The private endpoint means that you get the URL just for your service, and this URL is accessible only from your private networks running in Azure. So you can really protect your models against the public access, which is very, very important, because then you don't need maybe to use some, if the documents are publicly available for everyone inside a company, so then you just need to create a simple web page. You don't need, maybe you will skip some single sign-on or just some authentication. Just simple web page with the chat, hey, here are the access to our internal documents. So using this, you can protect access to your models. When you protect access to your models, of course, you want to create your own models. So it works. Actually, there are two options how to tell OpenAI to use your own data. So you have two options. The first option is that you can really create your custom model. If you look here, so now what I did, I deployed my Azure OpenAI service, and now I am in something we call Azure OpenAI Studio. Azure OpenAI Studio is designed to deploy your models. So you have a general service, and then you need to deploy your models. It's easy. I just say, okay, create a new deployment. Then I select the model I want to use. If you look here, you can see a lot of models. Maybe there are some models you even don't know. Maybe you didn't see those models before. It's easy. Majority of the models you see here, so I just use a different view for my models. Majority of the models you see here are actually very old models we are not using anymore. Because now we have the latest model is a GPT-4. And in GPT-4, you have all functionality for all the models you see here. If you look here, so then you see that every model starts with some name. You have the code here. Then we have this text. Of course, we have a GPT. The beginning of the name of the model tells you what model can do. So GPT is the most advanced model. With the GPT, you can do, let's say, almost everything. For example, the code model you see here, it's model designed for code completion. So if you want to, you probably know that if you go to GPT, you tell, okay, here is the Python code, please rewrite it to JavaScript. GPT can do it. But before GPT, we had a special model just working with the code. Then the models starting with the text, this is the models, for the text completion. You start some sentence and it will tell you more, okay? But these text models, they cannot do the chatting. They cannot chat. They doesn't support the chat completion REST API endpoint. It just supports the completion. And so on. Then the second name, so you have a text, DaVinci 001, and so on. So the second text is the generation of the model. So Ada is the oldest one, DaVinci is the newest one. And you can see there is nothing behind DaVinci. There is nothing else, because now we have a GPT. But some of those models, you can use to little change it to work better with your own data. So you can take your own data, you can take the knowledge base, for example, you are using, and then you can change a model, a little, so it will work with your data. And of course, this type of the model, probably you don't want to expose to a public internet. So this is the reason we have the option to disable the access from the public internet and create something we call a private endpoint. So it will be just accessible by a private URL, which can be used only from your private networks. The training those models, of course, it works, you can use it, but in general, it's a time-consuming. If you need to you have a new documents, for example, in a knowledge base, you need to train the model again. You need to deploy it again, and it's very time-consuming. So another option which is used typically in large enterprises, and this is, for example, the way how the pharmaceutical company MSD using those models, is that you can connect OpenAI model to some search engines. Not sure if you used ever Bing Copilot. It's a public version of the ChatGPT. You can use it, it's for free. You can just use it. And here, if I start asking something, what is Python? It actually combines OpenAI model together with a real-time search on internet. So it combines things together. So it doesn't give you the information only from the model, but it can search the internet, it understands what you are asking. Based on your question, it searches the internet, you get the results back, and then based on the results, the OpenAI prepares the answer for you. So there is like 2 steps. Actually, exactly the same thing you can do with your own data. So you need to have a search engine, and you need to connect the search engine to OpenAI model. So if I go here, so I have my, first of all, of course, you need to have your own data. So now I just took some text files. This is a text file description of some wine, and I store it in Azure. Then the next step is that you need to build a search index on top of it. So I have another service which is called Azure AI Search. And in Azure AI Search, I just told, okay, I have my data source, my text files, and on top of it, I create some indexers. So I index my data. So now I can search in my data, and then I have an OpenAI, and I want to put it together. Why to put it together? Those search engines, first of all, they're usually using only searching by keywords. So you put, I don't know, red wine, and you get the answer. In some languages, it can use the semantic search, which means that it tries to understand what you are asking for. But OpenAI understands very well what you are asking for. So if you combine those things together, even you have some index using some unsupported language. Czech is not supported, Slovak language is not supported. But if you combine it together, you can have a very powerful search in your local language. So I just create a simple index here. So it's the index, and this index can be used by OpenAI. So you can put those things together. This is really interesting for a lot of large companies, because if you are working in a big organization, you have probably documents stored, I don't know, in SharePoint, for example, or in other storages, and those storages can be indexed. And usually the large organizations in enterprise, they do it, because if you are working in a big organization, you have a lot of data, and you must be able to search for your data. But it's not easy. For a lot of people, it's not easy, to search for the data, writing the right keywords and so on. So then we can put it together. And how to put it together? It's quite easy. So I have some Python code here. So first of all, you need to have a lot of keys and URLs. Of course, you can see and you probably understand that I am reading some keys from environment variables. It works, but the question is it secure? When you are working in, probably you know this problem. Okay, I have a key or I have some password and I need to distribute it to my application. How to do it in a secure way? The way how you can do it, if we speak about the cloud technologies, and it really doesn't matter if it's Microsoft, if it's Amazon Web Services, if it's Google, Oracle, whatever. Typically in every cloud service, you will find a special service which is designed to store your secrets. The one we have here is called Key Vault. So the Key Vault is a special service where you can store your secrets. And of course, I have secrets, I have a store for my secrets. But then I need a secret to access my secrets. It just doesn't work. To have a password for password is usually for nothing. So typically in a large organizations, what you will do, and I don't have the example for this because we need to spend another 3 hours to explain it, how those things are working. But in general, in large organizations, you have some identity provider. Entra ID, which is from Microsoft, or you have a Google account, or you have some other identity provider. What you can do, you can give the identity to your application. So you are not giving the identity to some human, you give the identity to your application. And then you can tell this application can access my secrets, and authentication and authorization goes through some identity provider. So typically you don't need to deal, storing some secrets somewhere, distributing the secrets. You just say, okay, this application can access my secrets. Of course, it works in the situation that you run it in a cloud typically, because I can give the identity to application running in cloud. If I give the identity, for example, to application running in a virtual machine, then it's a little more tricky, but it's still possible to do it. But you don't need to store your secrets inside your application. The application can ask in a secure way for your secrets. Those systems are not using the common hardware, There is a special hardware with crypto elements. So there are special chips just doing the security. So there is nothing like a hard drive. There are special chips to store your secrets. So it's a very, very special hardware. Actually, this kind of the hardware and this kind of the technologies you can deploy inside your own data centers. It's available. You just buy a box, and this box is really designed to store the things very, very in very secure way. So if I return to my Python code here. So first of all, what I did, I have my OpenAI module installed. This OpenAI module, I am using the one provided by Microsoft because I am using here some extensions which are not available for standard OpenAI. So the OpenAI REST API is OpenAI REST API, but if you use it in Azure, you have some additional extensions. And one of the extensions I'm using here is the one designed to access my data source. So I have my search index, so I can search in my data, and just configuring my REST API endpoint for OpenAI in Azure, I put those things together. So now if I do some search, or if I ask for some help, it will not use public internet, it will not use the information only inside my model, But first, it will try to understand what I'm asking for. Then it prepares the search query for my search engine. From the search engine, you get the results. And based on the results from the search engine, OpenAI prepares the answer for you, which is quite easy. You know, the idea is quite easy here, but it can be very, very powerful. Exactly the same way it works if you use the Microsoft 365 Copilot. So what is it, Microsoft 365 Copilot? So if I open my Word here, so let's, for example, use this one. It's opening. Still opening. It's opened. So the Copilot here works the way that I can work with my data I stored in Microsoft 365. And the idea is exactly the same as you see here. The idea is exactly the same. If I ask for some information, first it searches for my data in Microsoft 365 tenant, then it gets some results, and the result is processed by OpenAI. It works exactly the same way. Because I have some search engine working with my data in Microsoft 365, and on top of this engine, I am using the OpenAI, because the OpenAI is the way how you can, provide the better answers. Okay, so for example, let's try the question here. Is there any information, any mention, any about AZ? So we will see what will happen. So what's going now here? The OpenAI is not involved now. Now I search for the information in this document. Actually, this document must be accessible for OpenAI engine. So it doesn't read the document from my computer here. It reads the content of the document from the original location, which is in this case is a OneDrive. Or the document must be stored on SharePoint, because this document must be accessible for the OpenAI engine. And the OpenAI engine is running somewhere. It's not running in my computer. So it must be able to access the data in some location which is accessible using some APIs. Exactly the same thing we are doing here. I'm just configuring the access to a search engine. So now the backend system can take my question, use this question to search for a data, and then use the OpenAI to process my data. And if you look here, if you use some high level, you can see here, I'm using just high level objects. I just configuring, and then I say, okay, give me this create. It's like give me the response. And if I not use, so if I put this one away, then it will try to get my information only based what is inside a model. Of course, it will not search on internet because I didn't configure it to search on internet. It's possible to do it. I can tell, okay, use this set of the websites, to give me the information. If not, it will use only the information which is inside the model. If you use ChatGPT, so the ChatGPT, of course, use the OpenAI model, but it combines the information with real-time search from the internet. If you ask only OpenAI model, what is the weather in Bratislava today? It will not answer because this information is not there. You need to combine it with some data outside the model. On the other hand, I have last 3 minutes and we will have some time for the questions. I think everyone is really, it's a big hype, this GPT and ChatGPT and so on. But keep on your mind, this type of the models, the generative models, are mainly designed for the interaction with the humans. So let's try stuff here. So let's upload the picture here. And you probably know that everything is better with cats. So let's find a picture of my cat. What is on image? What is on image? So let's wait.
It was in the OneDrive?
Sorry?
The picture was on OneDrive?
I uploaded this picture.
Okay.
So you can see it takes quite a lot of time because it's a free version, so it's not paid, so you need to wait for the resources. This is the reason why it takes so long time. And here we go. I cannot see the image. It doesn't like my cat. But in general, imagine you get the information like this. So for some reason you cannot get the answer. But if you are an application, imagine you are not a human. If you are an application, you have no idea what's going on there. Because now I need to analyze the response. So for some use cases, forget about GPT, even it's cool, it's fancy. Sometimes you need a totally different AI to be able to work with the application. So for example, if I need to know what is on the image, I will use a different AI, just giving me the list of the objects on the image. Because then I can, as a developer, as an application, I can process it, I can work with it. Now here I get just some answer. As a human, I can understand, okay, there is some problem. So what to do? Maybe I can try to use the one which is paid. So let's try to add some image here. Add image. And just upload again the same image from my, okay. What is on image? We will see. Doesn't like my cat. Never mind. But again, you as a human, you understand that something goes wrong. So the last example, so if I want to process my images, not for humans, I will definitely not use OpenAI models. I will use probably a different artificial intelligence. And let's do it this way. So let's wait, hope it will work. So now, you see, I get just the text, what is on image. And now I can easily to compare it. Of course, I can get it in a different language and so on. But now I have the output, which is easy to process by application, by Python application, whatever application. If you use the GPT, you get some text which is easy to understand for humans, not for computers. So sometimes stop thinking about GPT because there are other AI models which can be much more useful for you as a developers. Okay. So my time is out. I was 1 minute and 40 seconds longer. And now we have the time for your questions if you want to ask something. Any questions?
Okay, so we actually have questions right here.
Okay.
Yeah, so can I use company OpenAI without internet in our company?
Can I use the company OpenAI without the internet in our company? Actually, yes and no. It depends. So, as I show you, you don't need to have the access to the internet, but typically the model will run in the cloud, but you can disable the access to internet. So if you create a virtual network in a cloud, you deploy your model, then you just need to create some VPN access and so on, and then it will not be accessible from the internet. Actually, you don't need to have the access to internet to use it. I didn't see any our customer deploying the OpenAI model, for example, inside the organization because you need very, very powerful hardware. Some AI models, for example, the models I show you, to analyze the image, the one showing you the text. This type of the model you can easily run in a container. So it means that you can run it actually without the internet.
Great, thank you. All right, does Microsoft plan to include Mistral Large among the models available in Azure along with the OpenAI models?
Mistral is available for 3 weeks. Yeah, you can use there is Mistral available, Llama, Mistral and Llama is available. So you can use it. Mistral is available really just for a few weeks. I think we announced it like 2-3 weeks before, okay? Is the Windows 365 Copilot available in the not paid online version of Microsoft Office? Windows, probably it's a Microsoft 365. No, it's not. It's a paid service only. I have the latest version of my Windows 11. So now you can see on the bottom right, I have my Copilot, but actually this is the Copilot. The web, if I switch it on web on top, it's a common free Copilot everyone can use. If I switch it to work, this is the paid version. Now you can have the paid version even for, and now you can use the paid version even for, like if you have, for example, Outlook.com account, if you have a Microsoft account, if you have Office 365 for family, stuff like that, you can pay for it. But it's a paid service, actually. Is GPT fine-tuning available in Azure? I think the GPT 3.5 is there. I need to check it. So if there is the person who asked this, come to me, and I need to check it. But I think the GPT 3.5 is there, but only in some data centers. Actually, you will see if you will use the Azure OpenAI, or in general, some models, some artificial intelligence is not available in all data centers. So in some data centers, you have, for example, available GTP4. If you deploy your OpenAI model in a data center, for example, in West Europe, GPT-4 is not there. You need to deploy it in Switzerland, I think, and then you can get the GPT-4. So not those days, some models are not available across all data centers. So the GPT 3.5 fine-tuning, I think it's available. You can do it, but only in some data centers. Okay. When we provide extra requirement for the model to search in, how is it the search itself performed? Do you have to control over it and customize it? Yeah. So if you want to, the last question, when we provide the extra documents to the model and search for it, you fine-tune it, you can do a lot of things, but you do it outside the OpenAI. You do it in this AI search service. So in this service, this is this searching service, you can do a lot of things. So for example, you can create, you can write your own function extracting some information from your models, from your data, and publish it as a field, and this field can be used in a search. So for example, if you will use it to search across invoices, so you can create the function extracting the vendor, the name of the company, providing you the invoice, and then you can say, okay, I want to search only by the company providing the invoices. So you can do a lot of stuff, but you do it in a search AI. The last question I don't understand. RAG, is there the author? So sorry, I don't understand the last one. In your opinion, is there a chance for leakage of information? For example, in creating a general AI project based on the internal company knowledge base, is there a chance some of the data might end up at Microsoft or an OpenAI? It should not happen. If you look the documentation, how it works, it should not happen. But of course, if there will be some mistake in a code, there is the mistake in the code. But in general, if you deploy the OpenAI model inside Azure environment, you are not storing anything how you use it. Okay? So it's your business how you use it. Of course, you see some logs and so on, but we do not have access to it. You are not, using it for additional training. Do you use the GitHub Copilot? So for example, if you have a GitHub Copilot and you have the enterprise version, then there is the switch that if the data can be used for additional training or not. By default, it's not, but you can allow the GitHub Copilot to use your code for your questions, your code for additional trainings. But by design, it's disabled, okay? Fine-tuning, level of the security of storage. Fine-tuning basic to train data is the same level of the security of the storage. Yeah. Everything you store in Azure, it's stored encrypted, and you can use your own keys for encryption. You are using the AES 256 mechanism. So you can use your own keys to do the encryption, or you can use the keys provided and managed by Microsoft. It's up to you. I think it answered this one. Level of the security available for storage. Yeah. Okay. Hope I answered it. If you have some more questions, I will be available at front of the room. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Štěpán.
Thank you.